Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us from South Africa is Takunda Noha. Hey, Takunda, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vasco. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. And thank you for being here, of course. Takunda is a seasoned change agent, and he specializes in turning dysfunctional teams into high-performing teams. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that here this week. So, Takunda, let's start. Give us a little bit more of background about you, and also, how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Lovely. Thank you for the chance to be on your show. So I started my journey as a intern and as a project manager. I was assisting a seasoned project manager. I was his project assistant. During this time, I was studying for my master's degree as a project manager, and I got a chance to play this role as an assistant project manager. The team I was working with and this project manager had a coach on board. And this coach was sort of introducing the idea of Agile and the Agile mindset, and more specifically introducing Scrum to the organization I was working with. So he was floating around the work area with his posters and his Kanban boards, and I was very fascinated and interested. What is this guy doing? All the time they have these stand-ups and they get together and then they go away. It was always something I was noticing from a distance, but I never really knew much about it. So one day I decided to gather up the courage, go over there and ask, and what do you guys do every day here at this board with your stickies and moving them around? And then he started explaining to me what agility is. He explained to me how the world could look like if you decided to go down this road, right? Projects can be managed differently. Teams can be set up differently. Goals and value can be delivered differently. As someone who was studying project management, I was going down the Prince to, PMBOK traditional route. This was very eye-opening for me. I completed my PMBOK and my PMP and all that, but the seed was already planted, to say there's another way things can be. So I studied further and I got a chance to do my certification as a Scrum Master, and that's when the light bulb went on. It never switched off after that, and I guess my journey started from there. It was around 2014, around about there. And I decided when I finished my master's degree, I didn't want to continue down the PMP, PMBOK kind of way. I wanted to pursue being a Scrum Master and one day become an Agile coach.
Absolutely. That's a great story. Myself, I also have a background in project management, so I can totally relate to the idea of seeing the world in a different light when you were introduced to Agile. And of course, they are different mindsets. And when we bring different mindsets, we sometimes try to do things from one mindset when we are in another context. And that can be problematic. I don't know if you're going to tell us one of those stories, Takunda, but we want to hear a story of failure. And we talk about failure, of course, because that's incredibly important for us to collect lessons and to be better in the future. So, Takunda, share that story with us. We'll dive into the details and the takeaways later, but tell us that story first.
Sure. It's very difficult to talk about failure. It's you need to have a lack of ego, and to accept that you made a mistake and that you are not perfect. But yes, I have had my fair share of failures, and one that I'm willing to share with you today. It was quite a few years ago, though. I joined a new team, right, and it was before COVID, so it was co-located, so the same building. And I arrived in this new job. I'm excited. I want to hit the ground running. I've got plenty of ideas that I want to try and implement. I discovered that my teammates, though they sit in the same building, don't sit together, co-located, right? They're scattered all over the building. Some are on the 8th floor, some 3rd floor. And that didn't sit very well with me. I've got my Scrum certification and I'm like, no, the guys should sit together. We should be doing our ceremonies together, stand-ups together. And I went about trying to make them sit together, right? Needless to say, it backfired quite badly. firstly, the guys, they tried. Look, they were being very nice to me. They tried. They did come together for a few times, but I could tell they were very uncomfortable being there. Right? They, as soon as they could not be sitting together, they would go back to their original sitting
So
positions.
tell us a little bit more. What did that lack of comfort look like when you were observing the team?
Oh yeah. So see, you would be at the stand-up, right? And you would be visibly noticing that the guys are looking at their watch, they're checking, they're opening their laptops while we're standing there, they're trying to answer emails while we are standing there. And they're as quickly as you can talk. I talk quickly, I talk quite fast, but they're speaking even faster than I am. And literally just looking to finish the conversation as quickly as possible so I can get away from it. Right. You can tell also right after the session, normally people would hang around, have a chit chat, go have a coffee. No, immediately after the meeting, they would rush off back to the elevator. Off there they go. And so for a while, I didn't understand what was going on here. And it took me about maybe 3 weeks or so, 3 to 4 weeks, to finally start to understand what was causing this behavior. Why would they be so against being in the same place? And I finally got to understand that although for this particular project we're working on, we were brought together as a team, they still belonged to their original reporting lines, right? To their organizational structure. And their managers still expected to see them where they normally would sit. And unless the manager could see you, you wouldn't be able to bill your hours. You understand?
Wow.
So, so
no wonder.
No wonder. So they were just being very nice to me and not, being so harsh to say, no, I will not come to your stand-up. I have to be here. This is where I can build my hours. You understand? So finally, when I got to understand this, I was able to have a conversation with their line managers to say, hey, we are working together as a Scrum team, and as you know, Scrum teams normally co-locate. We work together, we design together, we think together, we plan together. And so, could I please have their presence on the same floor at the same time? The biggest learning for me there was I was so quick to want to do things my way. I didn't take the time to be patient, to understand, and to meet them where they were. Right? For me, it was, oh, but this is wrong. It must be this way, not that way. It's black and white. There's nuances behind why things are the way they are.
Absolutely. And nothing is ever black and white. So when something looks confusing at first, you must assume that there's something you don't know yet that is going on. And tell me, how did that conversation with the managers go?
Oh, yes. So it was it was very tense. I won't lie to you, Vasco. It was very tense because firstly, they have their own reasons why they would like to see their staff members there. There's a lack of trust between them and their reportees. So there comes this Scrum guy, and he's asking, please, can I have so and so to come and sit on a different floor? And so the first questions I got asked was, can you not deliver what you need to deliver with him sitting here? Why is it necessary that he must come sit with you? What value, what difference would it make if he was sitting there as opposed to sitting here? So you really have to justify why, right? And bring out the theory in this case, and then obviously some examples from the past. Then you have to make some concessions to say, fair enough. If I can't have him for the full day sitting together, but can I at least have the workshops, your design workshops, planning workshops, your reviews, your backlog refinements? Can I at least have him for those sessions, those ceremonies in the same place? So it started off as having to justify it from a theoretical perspective, to end up being a negotiation to say, fine, yes, I can't have it completely my way. Then can I at least have a trade-off for some of the time, and then some of the time is back sitting with you?
And that's actually one of the things that we need to be aware of is like sometimes the perfect solution isn't possible. And that doesn't mean we should stop. We should just find an alternative, as you called it, a negotiated alternative solution so that everybody gets a bit of what they need. Because, of course, the managers weren't just being difficult. It's just how they were used to work, right?
Absolutely. And they've got their own ways of working that have been established over a very long period of time. And so upsetting that status quo is going to work against you. Turning it upside down, you're just going to cause a lot more pushback than you need. You have a project to deliver. You don't really want to be still trying to work around the politics. You want to get moving. So it's good to give something so you can get something back.
Absolutely. And that's what the core of negotiation is. Thank you very much for sharing that story, Takunda.
Very happy to share it. Thank you.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests help their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.